欢迎继续收看基础佛学英文的课程。Welcome to the basic Buddhist English again. In our last lesson, we have understood that we as a man should make progress in our life. Only in this life. In our past lives, we can do nothing because past lives are gone. And the future lives having come. We cannot make the past lives to come back again, and we cannot make the future lives come right now. The past lives are out of our control, and the future lives are also out of our control. If we don't know the way to practice, to improve ourselves, then we can do nothing in our future lives. The only time that we can make use of is this present life. And this present life is in our hands. This present life is in our hands, and it is the only life that we can make use of. We must treasure, we must cherish this life in order to improve ourselves. And in our last lesson, we understood that we progress in this present life according to our honest wisdom. According to our honest wisdom, as we said before, that according to means the dependent origination, means the theory or the principle of cause and effect. The cause and the effect are the dependent originations. And this theory is a natural law. This theory is a law of nature. Nobody can disobey this kind of natural law. Nobody can run away from the law of nature. Nobody can disobey the Dharma. Nobody can run away from the Dharma, because Dharma is the natural law, is the law of nature, which nobody can be away from it. According to our honest wisdom, honesty is the best policy, because honesty is frank to ourselves, is frank to other people. Honesty is to open ourselves to everybody. We don't want to conceal anything from ourselves. We are here face to face to ourselves. We are trying to see the realities of our life, the realities of ourselves, to see the true facts, the true faiths of ourselves. That is called honesty. 所谓的诚实呢，那是不隐瞒一切，开放自己给一切的人事物。We don't try to conceal anything, but we are face to face to ourselves, because our life is what we make. Our life is what we live. 因为我们的日子是自己所活过来的。And what is wisdom? Wisdom is unification and openness. 什么是诚实老实呢？诚实老实的一种智慧，就是一种 openness， 就是一种 total openness， 一种全然的开放性，以及一种 complete unification， 一种完整的一种统一。Total openness, that means there is no concealment. We open ourselves, to other people, to everything. We don't want to conceal anything. We don't want to take anything. We don't want to put on a mask, to wear a mask, in order that we can see the reality of our life, the reality of ourselves, in order to make improvement, in order to make a progress. Because if we are not honest, then we cannot find the causes of our problem, the causes of our life, and consequently, we cannot find the way to improve ourselves. And the wisdom is the total openness to any possibility, is the total openness to anything, to anyone. We don't have any prejudice. We don't have any preconception. We don't have any judgment in our mind. We are open to everything. And the unification means to unify ourselves and other people, unify ourselves and other things, to unify two extremes, to go the middle way, to go the middle way. That is unification. There is no more discrimination. 再也没有这个歧视或者是分别 distinction. No, everything is equal in the Buddha's nature. This is honest wisdom. We progress in this life according to our honest wisdom. This is very important. If we want to have progress in our practice of Dharma, then we must be honest to ourselves, and that we must develop our wisdom. If we are not honest to ourselves, then we cannot see the real problems, the realities of our life. If we don't develop our wisdom, then we cannot see the realities of our life, and we cannot find the way, the solutions to our problem, and we will remain forever in the samsaric world, and we will suffer here life after life. That is the problem. Therefore, we have to develop wisdom, and this wisdom is honest wisdom, or the true wisdom, or the transcendental wisdom, not the dualistic wisdom. 这种的智慧是一种超越的 transcendental wisdom. It is not dualistic wisdom. Dualistic 就是二元的，它不是对立的。It is not dualistic wisdom. It is transcendental wisdom. And the transcendental wisdom in Buddhism is called panya or prajna. 在佛教里面，这种超越智慧称之为般若 panya， 而 transcendental wisdom prajna 或是般若panya 是巴利文 ，and prajna is 这个 Sanskrit panya 这是巴利文，而 prajna 是这个梵文。That's the transcendental wisdom. We must develop our panya or prajna or the transcendental wisdom in English in order to make a progress, in order to improve ourselves, to better ourselves to the state of perfection. 把我们自己改进、提升、改善到一种圆满的境界。That is the state of perfection, the state of enlightenment. If we want to enlighten ourselves, we must be honest to ourselves, honest to other people. We must develop our wisdom in order to see through the realities of everything. And that is the principle of practice, the principle of Dharma. And then let's try to understand what is honest wisdom. 我们就晓得了，说如果要改善自己、提升自己的话，一定要有那种诚实的智慧，才能够成长。那我们现在呢，就继续来看，什么叫做诚实的智慧。Let's see what is honest wisdom. Let's see what is say in our text. 我们在课文里面呢，看看那种 honest wisdom 它是怎么解释的。我们这里有讲说是 honest wisdom is realizing what you fear, knowing what you think, and opening your attention to everything which comes before you. honest wisdom is realizing what you fear, knowing what you think, and opening your attention to everything which comes before you. 这是有关于诚实的智慧的定义。This is the definition of honest wisdom. The definition of honest wisdom. 既然我们说，因为有诚实智慧就能够成长，那我们就来看看什么样叫做诚实的智慧。We say that we progress in this present life according to our honest wisdom. Then we must understand, we must know what is honest wisdom. Otherwise, we cannot make progress in this life. 我们如果不晓得什么是 honest wisdom 的话，那我们在这一世呢就没有办法这个进步。Of course, the past lives are gone. We cannot do anything for the past life. And the future lives having come, we cannot control it. We cannot be assured where we are going if we are not enlightened, if we don't practice hard and make some assurance in our future lives. Then we can also do nothing for the future. Therefore, we must make better use of the best use of this life in order to improve our life, improve our wisdom. Now we come to the definition of this of the honest wisdom. The definition of honest wisdom. 让我们看一看 what is honest wisdom? What is honest wisdom? What is the definition of honest wisdom? According to the text, honest wisdom has 3 sides or 3 dimensions. 根据这课文来讲 honest wisdom 有3个方面，也可以说是3个 dimension, 3个面向。Honest wisdom has 3 dimensions or 3 sides that we can understand it. Let's see what is the first side or what is the first dimension of honest wisdom. 我们看看那个 honest wisdom 诚实的智慧第一个面向是什么？课文里面讲第一个面向是 realizing what you fear. Realizing what you fear. 我们知道这个3个层面是什么？第一个是 realizing, 第二个是 knowing, 第3个人是 opening. Realizing, knowing, and opening. Realizing, knowing, and opening are the 3 dimensions of honest wisdom. 所以我们就知道了，这个 honest wisdom 有3个面向。第一个面向就是 realizing， 就是这种体悟、了解，这是 realizing。第二个 dimension 就是 knowing， 就是知道。第3个 dimension 呢，就是 opening， 就是开放。我们先来看看什么叫做 realizing. Let's see what is realizing or what is realization. Okay, according to the text. The first dimension of honest wisdom is realizing what you fear. Realizing what you fear 就是明白的知道自己的觉受，了了分明你的觉受。What you fear? What you fear? 你的感觉是什么 ？What you fear? 我们可以知道 ，What you fear? What we see? What we hear? What we smell? What we taste? What we touch? those are called what you fear. what you fear， 你的觉是什么？这个包括了 what you see， 你看到的是什么 ？what you hear， 你听到的是什么 ？what you smell， 你嗅到的是什么 ？what you taste 就是你尝到的是什么 ？what you touch， 你所接触到的是什么 ？Those are called what you feel， 那就是你的觉受是什么？你的感觉是什么 ？We see, we hear, we smell, we taste, and we touch. Every moment in our daily life, every moment, every second, every minute in our life, we are seeing something, we are hearing something, we are smelling some smell, we are tasting some taste, we are touching something. But we always try to escape or try to conceal from what we see, from what we hear, from what we smell, from what we taste, from what we touch. We are not honest enough. We try to cling to something we like, and we try to escape from something we dislike. And we try to wear a mask, to pretend, and to run away from the unprecious. 我们总是对那些会引起我们不高兴、引起我们焦虑的东西，从那边尝试的要逃避。我们总是要 cling to 执着那些我们喜欢的东西。We are always trying to cling to what we like. We are always trying to attach to what we like. We are always trying to pursue or to take something what we like. And yet we try to run away from what we dislike. We are attached to the present things, and we are trying to run away from the unpleasant things. 我们总是尝试着去执着、去攀援、去执取那一些我们觉得会让我们快乐的东西，而对于那些痛苦的事情呢 ，we try to run away。我们尝试着去这个逃避，去 escape， 去 run away。We are not honest to ourselves。我们呢对自己呢都不够的诚实。We try to wear a mask. A mask 就是一个面具。And we pretend that we don't see something. And we pretend that we haven't heard something. And we pretend that we don't smell something. We don't taste something. We don't touch something. And we only have the mechanism of fight or flight. Fight 就是战斗 ，flight 就是这个逃避。How to fight, or why to fight? 我们如果去战斗，如果去争取呢？一看到、一接触到我们喜欢的东西，我们就开始去 fight. If we see something what we like, if we hear something we like, if we smell something we like, if we taste something we like, if we touch something like, then we fight to gain it. We fight to get it. We fight to control it. And we fight to keep it in our hands. We try our best to do something as much as possible in order to gain something what we like. We are not honest enough. 我们不够诚实。对于那些我们所攀援执着的，想尽办法想要去执取。We try to get it. We try to take it. We try to control it. We try to control what we like to be unchanged. But it is impossible because everything is changing. 这是办不到的。我们总是想尽办法，要将那些我们所喜欢的东西， 我们所执着的东西，想要牢牢抓住它，不让它改变。But it is totally impossible. It is totally impossible trying to get something what we like, because everything is changing, everything is impermanent. How can we make something unchanged? How can we control something within our hands, in our hands? It is totally impossible. We are not honest enough to the realities of our life, to what we see, to what we hear. 我们听到是什么？ We pretend. 我们假装。我们听到了什么？我们假装没有听到什么。We pretend to hear no sounds present to us, and we pretend not to hear those unpleasant words or unpleasant sounds to us. 一些呢，讲我们老实的、坦白的话的，那一些我们听起来不高兴的话 ，we pretend that we don't hear. 我们总是尝试假装我们没有听到那些逆耳的忠言。Therefore, we are not honest to ourselves. And we pretend that we hear, smell something, and we pretend not to smell something. In the same way, we pretend to taste something, and we pretend not to taste something, and we pretend to touch something, and pretend not to touch something. That is the realities of life. If we are not honest to ourselves, then we cannot get enlightened. 如果我们对自己不老实的话，我们就无法这个觉悟，就无法这个得到。We must realize what we fear. Realize 就是彻底的了解，彻底的了解，有如是的感觉，如是的见闻觉知，如是的见闻嗅尝触，就要了了分明它。We must see clearly what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, what we touch. We must realize what we are experiencing now. We must realize what we are experiencing now. That means we must realize what we are feeling now. We must realize what we are feeling now. 我们必须了解 what we are feeling now. 我们现在的感受是什么 ？We must realize what we fear in order to make the best policy to protect our body and to remain stable in our mind and to keep our mind, our thoughts pure. 我们必须首先对自己的觉受呢了了分明，很诚实，不逃避，不攀援，不执着。那这样子，我们才能知道我们目前的状况是什么，以便采取最好的政策，来保持身体的健康，保持心理的宁静。We must be honest to what we fear, in order to make the best policy, in order to have health in our physical body, and to have stability or concentration or peace in our mind, in order to live a peaceful life and happy life, in order to make progress in our life. The first dimension of our honest wisdom is realization. Realization 就是一种体悟，一种体证。佛法 Buddha Dharma is not for knowledge. Buddha Dharma is not to make you be proud of what you know. It is not a knowledge, but it is a way of life. Buddha Dharma is a way of life. 它是一个生活的方式。The way of a wise life, a good life. Of course, it is an art of life. 也是一个生活的艺术。所以第一个呢，就是 realizing what you fear， 将你自己的一切觉受了了分明它。第二件事情呢，我们就晓得 knowing what you think， knowing what you think， knowing 呢也是知道 what you think， what you think，what you think is in your mind， 你在脑子里面，你的这种 mind 里面，你到底在 think 什么？ Thought is the source of our speech and our behavior, our action. Thought 就是一种思想、念头。Thought is the source 就是源头 of your speech and your action or your behavior. 思想就是你的言语、你的行为、行动的这个源头。Thought is the source of your speech and your behavior, your action. Therefore, thought is very important. 因为这个思想是一切言语、行为的源头，所以呢，思想、念头就非常的重要。Thought is very important because it is the source of speech and behavior and action. Therefore, we must pay attention to our thought. 因此，我们必须对于这种思想要很注意。那你要注意这种思想的话，那你就必须 know your thought. 所以 the second dimension of the wisdom, honest wisdom, is to know what you think. What you think. The first dimension of honest wisdom is still very superficial. Is still on the surface. Is still on what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, what you touch. However, the second dimension of honest wisdom is a step further to your mind. 我们的见闻觉知、见闻嗅尝触呢，还只是在这个表面的。Honest wisdom 的第一个面向，第一个部分呢，就是这一种 realizing what you fear， 在你的觉受上面、表层上面来去了解，而在于这种念头、这种 think 或这种 thought 是 a step further， 就是在更进一步。Because thought comes from the mind， 因为那个 thought 那种念头、那种思想是来自于我们的心，或是来自于我们的脑。What you think in your mind, what you think, what do you think？ 你的想法是些什么？那你必须要 very honest. You must be very honest to what you think in your mind. You must be very honest to what you think in your mind. 也许 we think in a bad way, in a dishonest way. We think in a greed way， 我们也许是在用这种贪的方式，在这个思想在思考。Greed 这种贪 ，Maybe we think in a greed way， 也许我们是在用贪的方式来思想。For example, we try to crave for something, we try to get something, we desire for something, we look for something, we seek for something.We are out of our control. We cling to what we want. Therefore, we are greedy. We are greedy. We are greedy. We are greedy. We have greed. We think in the greed way. We think in the greed way. 我们是在那种贪的方式之下来 think， 来这个思考。As a man, of course, we need so many things in order to live. In order to survive, we must depend on so many things. But what we need is not too much. However, what we desire is too much. Therefore, we are not in a satisfactory mind state. We are always unsatisfactory because we are so greedy. We are so greedy. We think in a greed way. 我们是在用这种贪的方式，在 greed way. If we want to be enlightened, then we must know, we must understand that we are in a greedy state. In order to be enlightened, in order to have the wisdom, the honest wisdom, we must know what we think. We must what we think. And in some cases, we are thinking in a hateful way, in a hatred way. 在某种情况之下，我们是用这种仇恨，用这种嗔恨的方式在思考。If there are some people we don't like, something we don't like, some situations we don't like, then our think always in this pattern. Our think is always in this way. We always think in either greedy way or hateful way, hatred way, because we are not honest to ourselves. We don't have the wisdom to see the reality of our mind. The first dimension of the honest wisdom is to understand the feeling, to realize our feeling. That is very important. And we understand that our feeling comes from our thought. We must understand our thought in order to realize our feeling. 因为我们知道这些的觉受，这些的感觉呢，都是来自于我们的思想，我们的想法。因此，如果想要 realize our feeling, we must understand, we must know our thought. What is in our mind? What are we thinking now? We must be very honest. And in some cases, we are thinking in a delusion way. 在某些情况之下 we are thinking in a delusion way. 我们是在这种痴、无明、没有智慧之中来这个思考，有的时候。And in other cases, we are thinking in suspicion. 在一种怀疑的情况下 or in arrogance, 或者说在这种傲慢之下，或者说 we are thinking in jealousy way, in jealous way, in jealousy. 我们有时候我们又是在这种嫉妒的情况之下来这个思考。If our mind is not pure, if our mind is not improved to the state of perfection, then we are always thinking in a biased way, in a prejudiced way, in a wrong way. After that, because of our wrong thought, then our speech will become wrong, will become not right enough, and our action, our behavior will become wrong, will become impure. will become polluted or contaminated. It is just because of our thought is not pure. Our thought is not clear enough. We always have the hatred, the delusion, ignorance, arrogance, desire, suspicion, jealousy, dishonesty. Our mind is not stable in mind enough. Therefore, we are thinking in the bad way, thinking in the wrong way. And if we are thinking in the wrong way, then we speak, then we act in the wrong way. And we cannot see the realities of ourselves. And we cannot have the peace in our mind. And we cannot live peacefully with other people, with the circumstance, with the world. And that is a pity. The second dimension of honest wisdom is to know what you think, is to know what you think. Why we have to know what we think? It is because that we want to speak in the nice way, in the ideal way, in the correct way, in the right way. And because we want to act, we want to take action, we want to behave in the correct way, in the right way, in order to help other people, in order to live happily and peacefully, to make our world more harmonious, to make our world better to live. Therefore, we have to know what we think. Honest wisdom is realizing what you fear, knowing what you think. That is so important in order to find the solutions to our problems, in order to have enlightenment, in order to become a Buddha, to become an enlightened one or awakened one. And how can we realize what we fear? And how can we know what we think? The main factor is the third dimension of honest wisdom. 我们如何才能够了了分明我们自己的觉受，能够了了分明我们自己的思维呢？那就是必须要有诚实智慧的第三个面向。As it is said in the text, how to achieve the state of realizing what you fear, knowing what you think. The basic principle is to have concentration. 那个最基本的原则 is to have concentration. 那就是必须要能够专注，能够细心一处。If our mind is always wandering away, if our mind always jumped from this thing to other things, jumped to one thing to another thing, if our mind is always discriminative, 就是分别心的。If our mind is not stable, is not focused, then we cannot realize what we fear. We cannot know to understand what you think. Concentration is so important. And then it becomes the third dimension or the third major factor of honest wisdom. In the text it says, opening your attention to everything which comes before you. Which comes before you is a phrase. 它是一个片语是个片语，它来形容 everything. Opening your attention to everything which comes before you. That is the third principle or the third dimension of wisdom, honest wisdom. Let's see what is opening. Opening 就是一种打开，打开了。Your attention， 你的专注力量。Attention 就是专注的力量。Opening your attention. Okay, our attention is scattering. 我们的专注力，我们的注意力呢 is scattering. Scattering 呢就是散乱 ，is wandering. Is wandering 是散乱啊 ，is wilding to run away to scatter over so many things. That is not attentive. 那不是专注的，那是散漫的，心猿意马，散乱心、妄想心 is inattentive。我们所说的散乱心、妄想心就是 inattentive。And our attention we must focus or we must open. Now open means to face to all the possibilities, to face to all the potentials. 去开放，去面对一切的可能性，一切的潜能、潜在性，那个就是 open 的意思。As I said before, that wisdom is openness and unification. Total openness, 全然的那种开放。Opening attention, 将你的注意力、你的专注力呢，给这个打开。Don't close， 也就是说你不要封闭。You must open your attention or focus your attention to， 这是 opening your attention to。Attention to 呢，就是对什么的注意力。Opening your attention to everything which comes before you， 把你的注意力专注在眼前的每一件事情上。Open your attention or focus your attention or fix F-I-X or fix your attention to， 把你的注意呢就集中专注在哪里上呢 ？To your attention， focus your attention, open your attention or fix your attention to everything， 每一件事情 everything which comes before you， which comes before you，before you 在你的面前 ，which comes before you，come 是来到 ，which comes before you 那个是来到你的面前 ，everything which comes before you， 每一件来到你面前的事情 ，you must open your attention to it， 你必须将你的注意力放在这个地方。However, in most cases, we are not honest enough to open our attention to everything which comes before us. 可是呢，很不幸，在很多的情况之下，我们都没有办法将我们的注意力集中专注在来到面前的一切事情上。Because our mind is not concentrated, our mind is not stable, is not fixed. 因为我们的心呢不专注的原因。Opening your attention to everything which comes before you means the meditation. Meditation 就是禅修，或者是静坐 meditation. Meditation is to stabilize your attention.To stabilize your mind and to analyze what is in your mind, what is in everything. 所以我们讲那个禅修 meditation. Meditation 就有两个部分。Meditation has two aspects or has two kinds. The first meditation is so-called samadhi meditation. And the second meditation is called insight or vipassana meditation， 禅修就包括了这个两种。第一种就是所谓的止 ，to stabilize your attention，stabilize 稳定稳固 ，to fix why we have to fix or why we have to stabilize our attention. Because if our mind is not fixed, is not concentrated, then our mind is wandering away. It is just like a name or a file under the wind. A name or a file under the wind, then the frame or the file will be shaking. And if the file is shaking, then we can see many images, 很多的影像就会产生。在风中的这个火，如果是不稳定的话，那就会使得我们火所映现出来的影子很多，很多的影子，重复的影子一直在闪烁不定。如果闪烁不定的话，我们就没有办法看清一个影子。We cannot see clearly an image, and what we see is delusory, is changing all the time. It is not fixed enough. Therefore, the practice of Dharma, or the practice of meditation, the first thing is to stabilize your mind, is to fix your mind, is to concentrate your mind in order to make your mind unified, in order to make your mind become one and focus on something. Therefore, it is just a file without any wind. If a file without any wind can be used to burn something, that it can burn something very quickly. And if the file without wind can be used to a lamp, then this lamp will become steady. This lamp will become stable. And this kind of light can make us see or understand everything very clearly. This is the first step of meditation. After our mind can be concentrated, or after our mind can be focused, can be fixed to something, then we must go further in order to develop our wisdom. 如果我们的心已经止下来，已经安定下来，我们就必须进一步的到这个禅修的内容，那就是所谓的 vipassana， 一种毗婆舍那，一种所谓的观，一种 insight， 一种 analyze what is the true things, true facts of our lives. Analyze what is happening in our physical body, what is occurring in our mind, and what we are speaking, what we are acting. That is the second thing of vipassana. 毗婆舍那观禅的目的呢，就是来知道我们所接触到的一切，我们所思考的一切，我们所做的一切呢，都能够知道，那就是所谓 attention training or meditation training 的 second dimension. That is to analyze everything, to understand the true facts of everything in order to develop the wisdom, in order to develop the mindfulness, in order to understand in the correct way, to understand exactly what is within you and what is outside you and what are you doing. 那就是这种观察呢，就是如此的来了解了你现在所处的环境是什么样的情况。That is to open your attention to everything which comes before you. Comes before you 来到你面前了。But for the ordinary people, they are not focused enough. They are not living right here and right now. For the ordinary people, they are so poor. Although they understand, they cannot grasp, they cannot hold what happened in the past, And although they understand, they cannot control the future. And the only thing they can do, they can control, is the present time. However, they are not living in the present. They are living in the past, or they are living in the future. And their attention is not focused on the present time. How pitiful it is, how poor they are, how foolish they are. Because they are living not in the present, they are living in the past, they are living in the future. They are in the past, living in the past, because they are always remembering their past life or their past time, how good they are in the past, or how terrible they were in the past. They are caught in this kind of thinking, imagination, or remembrance. And according to the future, they are living in the future. They are speculating. They are daydreaming. They are daydreaming about their future. They are speculating that something will happen to them, and that they can gain, they can obtain, they can have something in the future. They are not living in the present time. They are not living right here and right now. 他们不是活在这个当下，因此呢，不是活在过去，就是活在未来；不是活在回忆，就是活在这种臆想中。They are not good enough. How terrible they are. Although so many things come before them, but they try to escape. They don't want to understand what come before them. And they are not attentive enough to understand their difficulty, to understand their problem, to understand the realities of their life. Their mind is so wandering, is so scattering, and therefore they cannot see clearly the true facts of their life. We have understood the third dimension of honest wisdom. That is to open your attention to everything which comes before you. In this way, if your mind is fixed, your mind is attentive, is stable, then you can realize what you fear and what you know, what you think. Okay, this is the end of this class. Thank you. 谢谢大家。
各位法界空中佛学院的同学，法界卫星呐，非常慈悲设立这个法界空中佛学院。我想各位同学啊，每天在听课一定是受益无穷。大家呢是在免费在接受这个佛学的教育当然这个是一个非常好的事情。可是呢，站在这个法界卫星方面来讲呢，还要为各位准备这些教科书还要把这个教科书寄给各位还要录影种种要花很多的经费所以我想呢，既然我们各位呢作为一个法界空中佛学院的同学呢，应该多多少少花心所以呢，我在这里也鼓励大家呢多花心，多布施，多拥护让这个法界空中佛学院呢有经费能够继续的能够办下去叫做经费不足了，可能当中就会断掉了。如果各位想花心的话呢，有一个法界弘法的通讯社，那法界弘法通讯社的这个账号呢是4195678041956780祝福大家法喜充满。
第七